Expedition Zero is a first-person survival horror set in the anomaly zone of the Taiga forest following a meteorite crash in rural Serbia. It's available on PC from the 24th of March. Before we start, a quick thanks to the devs for the early access code. Before I started playing, I actually thought, nah, what's the worst thing this anomaly zone could throw at me? And being Mr. Billy Big Bollocks himself, I fixed the generator at the start of the game, which opened up my new shelter. I went to speak to this rather suspicious sounding bloke who needed my assistance in finding some samples of the anomalies, and I dived straight into the Taiga forest. Everything was going pretty swimmingly for a little while until I heard this bone-chilling and deafening screech before the crunching sounds of twigs snapping started getting closer and closer. Well, fuck that. Back to my shelter for me, gather my thoughts, get in bed, have a little cape and head back out in the morning. And then after that, it's no more procrastinating for me. Let's do this. Tomorrow. So after I finally mustered up the courage to head back out, I started to look around and realised that that creature wasn't the only monster in this game. The graphics can be a bit of an ugly monster too. It's a really mixed bag though. Some of the textures, they're really clean and crisp, while others look barely adequate for last gen standards. The lighting was really nice, creating a moody atmosphere, the flashlight barely seeing more than a few metres ahead, the street lights lighting the fog, giving me that brief moment of comfort and the occasional flash of lightning, letting me catch a quick glimpse of my surroundings. But some of the shadows fading in and out, some really noticeable pop-ins, some pretty rough textures and rain effects that were straight out of the early noughties. This is still a fairly demanding game too. On the second highest settings, I'm getting between 60 to 75 FPS, and that's on a 3090 at 4K with an i9, so not great considering it's still a bit of an eyesore. That creature you heard before though is this terrifying shadowy anomaly that constantly stalks you, making that grim deafening screech you heard when hunting you down. When close by, it glitches the screen and can even quickly surround you in this poisonous cloud. The on-screen effects are a little overused in my opinion, and they eventually start to give too much away when it came to adding fear and suspense, with a slow bolt action rifle being our best means of defense. The gunplay wasn't great though, not too bad. It's a little loose and purposefully slow to reload to add that tension to moments of fear, and I'd like to see a little more feedback on the humanoid enemies animation. Now on Steam it says, face the dreadful forest monster and find a way to defeat it. But I got to a point in the game that was nearly impossible to pass, and I'm still not convinced that this was intentional, as this supposedly singular monster started spawning duplicates of itself right out of its own arse.
There's more than one.
No, there's just one.
Eventually I was swarmed by these things. They totally lost their fear and just became an impassable, annoying pain in the arse, with their tongues grabbing me and locking me in this unavoidable death animation. Pretty annoying.
Would you please stop licking me?
And then there's these slow, very unintimidating possessed humanoids that limp their way towards you wielding an axe, and these dudes aren't too bad to deal with. They have this ugly animation, and again they fall foul to this really mixed bag of visuals. The functionality of the game needs some work too, with no trees having collision detection, which is fairly basic stuff, and the creature that uses the tongue attack, for some reason its tongue can clip through any wall or ceiling, so it's pointless looking for cover. Again, this doesn't seem intentional, and if it is, it really shouldn't be. There's far too much clipping going on in general, with the possessed guys also clipping through so many assets. It's not all bad though, and it's a real shame that the issues I've mentioned are a deal breaker overall, because underneath though there's potential for a very atmospheric, shit-stain inducing survival horror game. The fear was very real at the start, but the issues I've mentioned shattered the atmosphere. But if you're a big fan of looting anything and everything like me, then there's something here for you. It's almost like a blend of Prey and The Long Dark, and they're two amazing games, so developers at Enigmatic Games are taking inspiration from the right places at least. There's these 3D printers dotted around the place, with each offering different upgrades to our suit and gadgets to help us on our journey. They're all crafted from 3 types of material: metal, polymer and electrics, and these can be sourced from a wide range of items to find. find. I like that the searchable items and containers, they weren't lit up like Christmas decorations with an ugly highlighted outline. I had to use a small section of my own brain to see if I could actually interact and loot these certain items and containers. I'm a big fan of that. I really like to feel like I'm the one exploring and not being guided, and you'll quickly learn what's lootable and what's not. But when it comes to survival, there's 3 things to look out for, and that's your temperature, lighting fires to stay warm and upgrading your insulated suit, then your battery, which is vital for your flashlight in this pitch black forest, as well as using your other crafted gadgets, and this can be kept charged at the various charging stations, and of course your health. The issue I had here though was that your battery and your temperature gauges are both maintained via stationary interactables found in the environment. I couldn't just stop anywhere and light a fire. I had to find a stove or a barrel drum to start a fire, and there's no batteries either or other methods to charge my battery. I had to find a charging station. This broke up the flow of the exploration, and this meant a lot of unwanted backtracking, and it's a semi-open world that's broken into areas for me to explore. We are given a snowmobile with extra storage to fast travel between these areas though. I really enjoyed the themes at play here overall though, without spoiling too much, but as you can see there's a disturbing blend of the supernatural and science fiction themes happening, and the moody atmospheric tone was genuinely scary at the start of the game. I'll always have a soft spot for a game with plenty of looting and crafting systems, but the basic survival elements, the stiff animations and the undercooked visuals in terms of clipping, collision detection and the fidelity of the textures all mean this needs quite a bit longer in the oven. There's huge potential here though. The atmosphere is intense at times and the story is intriguing and pretty twisted. I can't recommend it in its current state though, so hopefully some fresh ideas and patches will bring Expedition Zero up to a standard that I could recommend it. But until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.